Coming up next on Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable, the state ends the previous fiscal year with a $266 million surplus. And the latest on questions regarding a corporation commissioner's cell phone records. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Aaliyah Rao of the Arizona Republic, Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, and Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal. Arizona's current budget was built on the belief that last year's budget would close with a deficit, but instead of being in the red, the state ended the fiscal year $266 million to the good. We are going to get to that in just a second because there's a lot of concern about where that money could be going, if anywhere. But Aaliyah, as of airtime here, late this afternoon, early this evening, it sounds like there's something going on with the Arpaio case. Talk to us about this.
There is. It was a busy day at court today. Federal Judge Murray Snow had an emergency hearing, and basically there's a court-appointed monitor who's supposed to be making sure that Sheriff Arpaio is turning over the documents in the racial profiling case. So the monitor went to court and said he's not doing what he's supposed to. We think there's documents, and Snow said, okay, I'm issuing a warrant, and you can go into the sheriff's office, you can get databases, you can get supposedly IDs that may be there, anything you can find related to this case, go get it. I
mean, a federal judge telling U.S. Marshals, go get the stuff that I'm not getting, that's pretty big stuff.
That is pretty big stuff because it raises a whole bunch of issues. First of all, they go in, even assuming the warrant lists 1,500 IDs and 50 hard drives. Well, once you're wandering around in there, as we all know about search warrants, well, what else are they going to come across that perhaps the sheriff didn't want them to see? You also get some fascinating 10th Amendment issues here. I mean, we've had legislation which has said sheriffs can trump federal officials. You know, Kelly Ward had a bill on that just this past year.
But they never go anywhere.
And they don't go anywhere because of some technical questions, but we have had some 10th Amendment bills that have passed. And now you have an interesting question. You have the county's chief law enforcement officer being told, you step aside so our federal marshals can come in. I see yet another court hearing coming up, perhaps to disqualify Murray Snow on another issue about where is the power on this?
I think there's a couple things at play here. You talk to critics of Arpaio in the sheriff's office. They always wonder or contend or argue, what are the deputies taking off the undocumented workers and immigrants in these raids? Are they taking fake IDs? Are they taking consular cards? Are they taking other stuff from them? And the folks that are victims in these raids, the defendants often don't have a legal voice or anybody to step up, and so it's a word against word thing. And so they're looking for those. They could be looking for those. The other thing is, with hard drives, is how much the sheriff's office has been investigating the judge and his wife, which has come up. So are they going to find anything there? And we've all watched Law and Order, like Howie said. You know, what do you find in the closet that breaks the case?
And what do you find on the hard drive? That's the thing. You know, so you start doing the data, and we all know nothing ever gets deleted. A la Bob Stump's cell phone.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit.
But that's
the thing about this as well is that this court-appointed monitor, this was a hearing today, and the court-appointed monitor basically walked in there and said, not only is this stuff there, these IDs especially, but the hard drives as well, 50 some odd hard, not only is it there, but some of these IDs were slated to be destroyed. And some of the sheriff's officials were being told, don't volunteer this information. Again, the judge has got to look at that and say, that ain't going to wash.
Well, which I think is the reason for the emergency hearing and the immediate warrant. I mean, and I assume, we haven't heard yet, but I assume that they'll be taking that warrant up very quickly and we'll see some action with that. But if they don't, there's a question about what gets destroyed, what's been destroyed.
Yeah, the sheriff's
what's
office
being destroyed. This is literally happening as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, the sheriff's office, sometimes is kicking and screaming to get them to move forward on stuff. Of course, folks that are on the sheriff's side always say, well, these are politically motivated, investigations and hearings, and they're out to get the sheriff. And so they slow play things, they delay, and other things.
Well, the other piece of it is, I think what the sheriff will argue, based on what we know at this hour, is that we produced everything that was responsive to your order. And we didn't see these as responsive, and so therefore this is an overreach. This is a fishing expedition.
Right, and again, this is happening as we're taping the show here at 5:30 to 6 on this Friday early evening, late afternoon. So by 10 o'clock tonight by the show, lots more information could be out there, or we could still be kind of wondering what's going on. But just so we know, again, U.S. Marshals have been ordered by Judge Murray Snow to seize evidence from the sheriff's office. So
one thing I think it might be interesting to see is how Arpaio reacts. He's been on the defensive for a while, but since this kind of Donald Trump stuff came up, he was at the rally, immigration's back at the forefront. Maybe we'll see a more aggressive Joe
interesting.
again.
All right. Let's get back now to what was the lead story until a few minutes ago. The idea of $266 million surplus. Where did all this money come from?
Well, a lot of it came from taxes, and particularly capital gains taxes. So I think when people say, oh, Arizona's ending the year with more money than we thought, they think, oh, we've got new jobs, we've got new income, we've got new sales tax, something. And that's really not the case. It looks like most of it is that capital gains tax that comes from the wealthy stocks, and it's just, it's extra money that was unexpected.
And that's really crucial because you can look, over years at sales taxes, and they go up and down according to economic trends. You can look at income taxes. But something like capital gains is when people are selling stocks because they think the market is at a high. And that's great. And that provides a great bump, but that's hardly predictable in terms of being able to say, well, we're going to have it next year and the year after that. Of course, the other piece of it is those with the conspiracy theories are saying part of the reason the Senate President, the House Speaker wanted us to get out of session so early is they knew this revenue bump was
right.
going to happen. And if we hung around longer, maybe we wouldn't cut state aid to education. Maybe we wouldn't cut the universities by $100 million. Maybe we wouldn't have told Pima and Pinal County, you're going to have to backfill in the budget.
And we've heard those conspiracy theories for a while here, trying to figure out why there was such a big old rush. But still in all, the money now, whether it was there or not, it is there now. What's going to happen here? Are people start spending on things, or is there going to be a hold back now?
Well, if you're a Democrat, you're pointing to things we could spend on. Education at the universities are at the top of their list. If you're kind of a conservative Republican, let's see how things go. This is a one-time thing, And so you could have a much bigger bump, and some of the conservatives down there wouldn't want to spend it. They just want smaller government. So you're going to have it's kind of the folks in between those two polars that are the ones that will kind of decide this. But there's no evidence that the Republicans down there are going to go out and spend this right away.
No, but one of the shoes we've been waiting to drop has to do with this ongoing lawsuit over education. It's going forward each year, it's like $340 million, plus the request for $1 billion in back aid. So, folks may say, let's get this case resolved. Now, there's been an arbitration going on in the Court of Appeals over these issues. We thought it would be resolved maybe by the new fiscal year, July 1st. It hasn't been, so this is a great unknown in here.
Indeed, and hasn't been resolved, and you wonder if there was an attempt to maybe rush that one too before some of these numbers came out, and we still have the rainy day fund.
Well, and that's part of it. I mean, at the end of the year, they thought they were going to have to take money from the rainy day fund to balance the budget. So this means they for sure don't have to do that. It protects that rainy day fund, but it is there now. And yeah, it is more, or at least part of the money you would need for that education lawsuit.
How long can the Republican side especially say, we've got to be careful here, we can't go rushing off and spending on things. We need to be, maybe look at debt reduction and these sorts of things before spending.
This is Arizona. We could do it forever. But there is a lot of debt, and we're starting to hear that conversation about, we've sold all our buildings.
Yes.
We've got to start talking about that. There's some money coming due with that. We pay, I don't even know how much money in other debt rollover stuff. I mean, there's a lot of conversation going on about what debt do we have, and should we focus on that first?
And again, the predictability becomes the problem. There are folks who have these charts predicting out in FY 17, 18, 19, I know you've seen them, that say that somehow just the growth in corrections, the growth in K-12 education just from population, even universities, just population, is going to overwhelm any growth. So there are a lot of folks who, having been burned, when Janet Napolitano was governor, she said, oh, I'm sure this recession can't last. Well, welcome to reality.
But I think you'll see a push, especially from the education folks, especially from the universities that just took a cut. I mean, we there's numbers that have come out this year about us ranking last in teacher pay, last in per pupil spending, 46th in child poverty, child well-being. We'll see big pushes for that. Whether the Republicans, governor on down, will listen to that or be receptive to that's the big question.
Well, where it's going to be interesting in terms of education is we're going to have the debate next session about do we tap the trust fund to provide some extra money, for 5 years, actually for 10 years out. Well, if there's money available, and you had Jeff DeWitt on last night to talk about maybe why this is either a bad idea or absolutely unconstitutional, the fact that there's money out there is going to make it harder for Doug Ducey to sell this idea of tapping the corpus of the fund when there's cash there.
I guess at the very least, as I think Don Shooter was saying, Senator Shooter, it means maybe no cuts next year.
It could, and I think you're going to have, again, you are going to have the Democrats making the argument. I mean, we seem to be hitting a tipping point with education. We've seen it in the polls, we've seen it in the studies. There's got to be a conversation about education funding. It's just a question of what direction does it go? What does the governor introduce in terms of a plan? I think all that plays a role in how we talk about this money next session.
And the business folks are kind of key to that. The Republicans down there don't really listen to us or the Democrats or the children's advocates, which they view as politically liberal, but they listen to the chambers of commerce. And their focus, the chambers this year, was preserve those tax cuts that Jan Brewer gave us. That was their number one priority. Everything else kind of goes to the wind. Well, those are preserved now, so maybe with some extra money, they may become the education advocates that are needed.
All right. It sounds like there's a cell phone out there, a renegade cell phone that everyone wants to get their hands on. Certainly the records they want to get their hands. Talk to us about the Corporation Commissioner Bob Stump, his cell phone, and why now has the phone itself or the records been handed over to the Attorney General's office?
Well, it's the phone itself because, quick backstory is that ahead of the 2014 primary, there's a log of text that Bob Stump to APS executives, to Scott Musey, who's part of a dark money group, to some candidates running, and it would suggest that perhaps Stump was serving as coordinator. Stump says, now the questions were raised about the text is, well, that iPhone 3, it really was a lousy phone and I destroyed it. I now have an iPhone 5, and anyway, the texts were deleted. There's some argument that maybe somehow the metadata from the deleted text wound up on the new phone. They've tried to get the Phoenix Police to examine it. They've tried to get DPS to examine it. Well, now suddenly the Attorney General's office has said, we've already got an investigation going into the 2012 election, activities involving Gary Pierce, activities involving perhaps coordination with his son's Secretary of State's campaign. Let's just bring that into that and see if there's anything else there. And part of the issue is that the whistleblower in the 2012 case said, I told Stump, who was the chairman at the time, and he did nothing. So it's all tied together in this wonderful little bow here.
The NSA probably has that metadata somewhere in Maryland, right, that we could find. And there's a lot of questions about APS's influence over the commission. And it's a different political and economic world now. But the old days, Bill Post and Marty Schultz were good old boys that got along with everybody. Now APS is in these big fights with Solar City, Elon Musk's company, and it's hard knocks politics and stuff, and they've really kind of changed the culture. They're much more aggressive, and it'd be interesting to see if these texts are ever disclosed, what we see behind the curtain in terms of APS and the commission and these members.
Who is checks and balances? What is this group all about? And Dan Barr is helping them, and we're going to get to Dan Barr in a second because he's been a target as well.
It's checks and balances. It almost sounds like the dark money groups. You give it a wonderful name. Essentially, they're backed by solar interests, and with APS doing everything it can to kill solar, except the solar that it owns, to charge extra money. They want to, I think they probably want to sully Stump's name. They certainly want to question whether APS had undue influence. And the fact is they're using the public records law as it exists to go after what's there. Now, this leads to a larger question of why aren't texts being preserved? The argument that, well, I deleted it from the phone because the server was full. No, you can't fill a server. You can always buy more memory. And to her credit, Jody Jarich, who's the executive director of the commission, is now installing new software, so text will be preserved. That still doesn't help us for what happened in 2014.
Impact on the Corporation Commission. I mean, are people increasingly looking sideways at those folks and just wondering how much influence APS has?
I think they have since the last election. I mean, there's a lot of money, as you were saying, flowing in and out. APS, SRP even, dark money groups, the solar groups even. I mean, there's a lot of money coming in. I think there's a lot of concern. The general public doesn't really, I don't think, understand entirely what the Corporation Commission does. Some of us have trouble some days understanding what they do. But, I think there's some question about who they're connected with and what they're doing.
And it certainly didn't help that we found out that APS gave a bunch of money to the Republican Attorney General's Association, which then brought the money back to help elect Mark Brnovich.
Mark Brnovich, and that is one of the reasons why he's walled off now from this latest.
He says he's walled off, and he's given it to his chief criminal deputy, and to the extent his chief criminal deputy is willing to say, I don't care where it goes, Mark, you will find out.
Okay,
Well,
so
one of the challenges is like with the legislature, it's all Republicans on the corporation commission. No Democrats anymore. So there's not anybody really even on the panel to kind of, I don't know, squeal on the rest of them or narc on the rest of them, or shed some light on things about how things work, because at times they all kind of work together on these things.
And this is important because the question was raised to Bob Burns, who's on the commission, and Susan Bittersmith. Look, you have the power now to ask APS
Right.
and Pinnacle West, what did you contribute last time around? And Burns' position is, well, that's history. We'll deal with this going forward. So there's not a lot of folks interested in rocking the boat.
And Howie's power is probably going to be off later today if he's an APS customer.
I am an SRP customer for exactly that reason.
well, you kind of wonder about Dan Barr's power because apparently the Republicans kind of came out with a video, a YouTube video, and it was pretty strong.
Yeah, it went after. He's an attorney for Perkins Coie, which was the old Brown and Bain law firm, the venerable law firm here. He's a First Amendment guy, pretty well respected around town. On
And
those
he was
types
with
of-
Checks and
And he
Balances?
represents checks and balances. And usually you don't see, people going after the attorneys and stuff. They're just counsel and stuff. But they've gone after him, all types of accusations, kind of typical negative political ad. What is he, soft on Osama bin Laden
Yes.
and lots of other things
Yes.
and stuff. And it's hardball stuff,
But again, attorneys are legally, ethically obligated to represent the interests of their clients. The fact that someone in his firm represented the driver for Osama bin Laden, how do you determine that to be the case? I mean,
connecting the dots, Howie, right? They're connecting the
They
dots.
also accuse him of being friends with Democrats and media. I
Oh
mean,
my
these
God.
things
Well,
hit
that's
all
even- that's
three,
almost as
Osama,
bad.
Democrats and media.
I thought soft on criminals was bad, but I guess they really went after him. But what good does this do? First of all, most folks have no idea who Dan Barr is. He does tremendous work, but they still don't know who he is. What good, putting it on YouTube, what's this all about?
This is about the red meat, folks. This is about the Republican Party trying to raise money, to stir up the base, to say, no, you may be hearing some nasty stuff about Bob Stump, but understand this isn't some innocent-sounding group going after him. And they're just trying to do some defense work.
Defending one of their own, I think.
Yeah.
Defending one of their own, and maybe a message to other folks that we're not to be trifled with. Right?
Does it do the Republicans any good to
No.
have this video out there?
No, because the fact is, if you want to go after Scott Peterson, who heads the Checks and Balances Project, fine, go after Scott Peterson, go after Checks and Balances, go after their source of money. Going after the attorney, who is a First Amendment attorney, who has taken people to court over public records for Democrats, Republicans, and the media, oh, come on.
It does kind of sound like waking up with a horse's head.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, a little bit. But the challenge is these solar versus utility things, which what this kind of stems from. Solar guys are good. Everybody loves solar. The big utility in any market. This goes on other states with Solar City and other markets. The utility is always kind of the bad guy.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, keep an eye on that story. Never ends, though. I mean, that could go for quite a while.
Oh, no, definitely. And like I say, the next step is was the Attorney General able to retrieve any of the text from the phone? Are there records somewhere else? What else can we determine? And who else does it drag in from the Corporation Commission?
All right. Something else that was dragged in this week was a deal. Yet a compromise deal. It looks like the Coyotes will be playing in Glendale for 2 more years. It doesn't look like they're going to be playing for much longer than 2 years, though, does it?
well, they at least settled their legal fight. The city council up in Glendale voted to cancel the 15-year deal that was approved in 2013. They cited a conflict of interest with Craig Tendall, who was the city attorney, went to work for the Coyotes. They wanted to get the Coyotes back to the negotiating table. The Coyotes sued, but they figured, hey, let's do a new deal. And so it's 2 years. The city pays them $6.5 million a year to manage the arena. That's better than the $15 million that they were paying. In exchange, the Coyotes get to keep all the revenue they bring in, which over the years hasn't been enough. But if they do a good job and bring in more revenue,
quite a bit.
good for them. But then the thing is, it's only 2 years. So in 2017, the moving vans to Vegas or Quebec City or Seattle can come up.
Well, but not only that, but Howie, that means there are 2 years now for the Coyotes to basically say, we're out of here in 2 years. Phoenix, where are you? Tribes, where are you?
Exactly, and that becomes the issue. Here's what we're getting right now. Can you beat this deal? It's sort of like a car dealership. Can we beat this deal? Can you give us, $7 million to manage the arena? Can we get more share of the revenue? Are there other things that we can latch onto? And that's where it's going to get fascinating, because you've got a lot of folks out there who despite my belief that arenas and sports franchises are money losers, who like this idea of having a franchise. Certainly Canadian teams, they'll think that they do better back there, but even here in the Valley, going downtown, perhaps a new arena somewhere in Midtown. Actually, Salt River Reservation, they'd love to have this kind of thing.
Sure. Well, has there been any talk of ASU getting involved in this? ASU's got a hockey team. They're going to have a hockey team. They're going to try and redo Wells Fargo Arena, the basketball arena. Are they a player at all?
There's been some preliminary quiet conversations about it. I have no idea how far they've gotten or how much legitimate interest is in it, but that's been proposed. They've got this hockey team. They have one that just is recreational and is doing really well, and they're going to try to, kind of go further. And yeah, is there an opportunity somewhere in Tempe for a hockey arena? That'd be an interesting question.
I mean, really, they're all on the table right now.
Sure, yeah. I think the one most people are talking about is a new arena for the Suns at the south building of the Phoenix Convention Center, which is the oldest building. It's kind of nestled in between Chase Field and U.S. Airways Arena, Talking Stick Resort Arena, whatever you want to call it now. And they would tear that down and build a new arena there, and maybe make that multi-purpose for both the hockey and basketball.
Talking north side of Washington?
The south building,
north of Jefferson.
North of Jefferson. So that's
Okay.
the oldest
Oh,
one.
interesting.
So that's kind of the talk on the street about the Suns Arena. Do you make that? This is a better deal for Glendale. They're not paying $15 million a year. They're paying $6.5 million a year.
But they're losing out on that surcharge money and the naming rights and all that stuff.
They were worried they weren't getting enough from that, and obviously they were worried about whether the Coyotes were accurately sharing that with them, and that sparked the audit stuff. But one thing is they were going to leave. If they're going to leave, they're going to leave in 2018 because all they had to do was lose $50 million. They lost 34.8 the first year. If you want to lose money at a hockey team, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
So they were going to leave a year earlier. It gives Glendale a better deal, and it gives the Coyotes maybe more revenue if they're successful and stuff. And one thing I will say about the Coyotes' ownership, they do seem like they want to try to stay here in at least Arizona. They were ready to sue over this thing. They could have just packed up and said, "Okay, we're going."
We only got a few minutes left here. The governor ordered a review on fetal tissue law, and which is kind of interesting because it's against the law already, isn't it?
It is. It's against federal law to sell fetal tissue.
And this is from the Planned Parenthood video that kind of talked to us about this.
Yeah, there was a video that came out that appeared to show from a nonprofit group that appeared to show a Planned Parenthood executive talking to this individual about the sale of fetal tissue, which is against federal law. So the question is Planned Parenthood selling fetal tissue, or was this just some sort of conversation? Was this video oddly edited? This is an advocacy group that did it. And so Ducey released or made this announcement, but it's against federal law. There's some question as to, he or the Attorney General could look into whether somebody is doing that, but in terms of needing new regulations, I think there's some question about that.
Well, look, the fact is this was political. Every Republican governor did the same thing. Now, the one area where Kara Chris, who's the health director, said, look, maybe we need to tweak our rules. While it is against federal and state law, we don't have anything that requires the reporting. And so I think where her emergency rules are going to go is to say, look, if in fact there is some transfer of fetal tissue, what happens to it?
So check this box if you're violating federal law?
Well, in essence, it's not a question of selling it, but see, there's something
donation.
You can donate, yes, which is not illegal.
Not only that, but then you get into this area of sale versus, we get into this with body parts and organs is, can you pay somebody certain costs for preparing it, for doing the work and that? And that's where we get into those gray areas in the law all the time.
I think the video did mention Arizona, too, which I think was another concern from in some respects. I'm not
Well, I mean, conservatives, they want to defund Planned Parenthood. They get federal money for other medical services they provide. And you see these fights all the time between the kind of conservative anti-abortion crowd. And they want to go after Planned Parenthood. This is a way to make them look bad.
Well, no,
and they're on the offensive. They like to be on the offensive. They're on the offensive with immigration now. And this is a chance. They've been on the defensive for a number of years on these issues, and now they're kind of going after them.
But also understand they're also using it for fundraising. I mean, today
absolutely.
I saw some fundraisers up. Piece of video, look, give to Republicans because we're going to do this.
You get back to the base.
And that's what this is. This is all about politics.
Real quick, are we going to hear any more about this, or is this basically?
Oh, I think we will. We're hearing Arizona lawmakers are talking about it. I'm sure we'll see some legislation next session. Kathy Herod's always in the middle of that.
Absolutely. The base loves it, and they'll go after it.
All right. Good to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Monday on Arizona Horizon, we'll have a debate. We'll hear from the three candidates running for mayor of Phoenix. A Phoenix mayoral debate Monday at 5:30, then replayed at 10 right here on Arizona Horizon. Reminder, if you'd like to watch tonight's show again, see any previous edition of Arizona Horizon, or check out what we have in store for the future, check us out at azpbs.org/horizon. That's azpbs.org/horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.